February 5th, 2025. Just some contemplations here, down here in the fish corner. Not necessarily a fish room, but it's a small little corner I have here in the basement. We're looking at the 220 longs that I have right here, sitting on a small shelf. Not shelf, but wired shelving. Yeah. This top one houses a lot of my male guppies. Male, some red blonde, but a lot of mixed between red blonde blue galaxy and green snakeskin. The three of them kind of have developed into this type of deal. A lot of them were born outside over the summer, and they've been spending the winter growing up, and a few of them are getting some pretty fancy tails here. I was having issues in both these tanks with my fish not looking very happy. They were listless at times, and a few of them were flashing. I did some water parameter checks, and my nitrates were super low. Nitrite super low, ammonia super low, pH looked good. Water was on the pretty hard side, but guppies like hard water. And then I looked at one more thing, and that's the temperature. Temperature down here in the basement, usually in the winter when it's not too cold outside, it will run about 72, sometimes even hit 74, but it got pretty cold here for a few days, and that cement block you see behind there is actually the wall with the outside, but it's underground. However, you still do, this probably still is the coldest wall. And since the temperature is about 70 degrees, maybe down to 68, the temperatures in these tanks probably got down to about 65 or so. And even though these guys have it in them, they've been bred from fish that have lived down here unheated. They kind of struggled for a bit. So now I got a heater down here running 75. Another heater down there running 75. These heaters are kind of undersized for what we have, but I purposely don't want those to get too hot, but I'm fine with them doing. But down here are mud guppy tank with a lot of the just better looking mud guppies, at least the males. Most of the females are in here. If there are any females that are looking kind of on the rough side or not looking like they're liking it much, they go into the bigger community tank where they get to hang out with some of the other fish I have. But that's like the two main, bigger ones that I have my guppies in, and I'll move the fish over. So now we're starting to get to the point where I'm maybe about 1 week to 2 weeks from probably sending a dozen to maybe 15 pair to my favorite fish store here, which happens to be Fish World, but we really only have two local stores here in Lincoln. You got Fish World, which is a much smaller store, and you got The Fish Store, which is kind of it's a bigger store, but I don't really like how they do business up there, so I like to do business with Fish World. They're much more, in my opinion, hobby friendly, more willing to work out bringing some fish into them and getting some credit for them, or even possibly at some point selling them to them. But it's still a bit too complicated to get into a whole business situation where I'm selling fish, because I have enough fun time just dealing with these guys. Back to the rack I built over November. We're still at 4 10 gallons across the top, still at 4 10 gallons across the bottom. Notice some of them look a little hazy. That is kind of bacterial blooms going on in each one of them, and some stronger than others, but definitely have different vibes going on in each one. So none of them are really made to look good, but I also don't want them to look horrible. I kind of do like having a layer of gravel. I kind of like having some plants of some sort. I have shrimp in pretty much every one of them. This one is more dialed towards mud guppy, baby fry, and grow outs. So any mud guppies that can get born in here and somehow survive that craziness, I'll put them up here so they get some good nutrition. and also got some shrimp in here that are more of a kind of a darker version of the shrimp. It's actually a combined Bloody Mary slash Blue Dream shrimp. Ends up with a chocolate shrimp and sometimes a black shrimp, and that's pretty much what we're showing up in here. Over here, we've got my Hawaiian Variatus platies. Started out with like 3, and I started out a lot more actually, but I kind of had to get this colony kind of started going again a little bit slower. Now we're up to, I mean, like 4, 6 fully grown, and they like to eat their green poop. Got a couple of ones that were born in here back in November, December, and I end up with like 1 or 2 a month, it seems, coming out of here, and that's fine. I'm not really looking to unload a lot of these guys, and one of the plans is once the whole mutt guppy deal, once that big thing goes, then I'll turn these to 20-gallon longs. And in fact, what I might do is, in fact, when the outdoor tubbing season starts, I might look at saying, hey, let's go ahead and do something about the Hawaiian Variatus. Let's get them going here inside my indoor tanks and get those colonies going. Because when I put them outside, they didn't necessarily breed much. But they do well in non-heated tanks, and they would do very well in that tank on the bottom there, unheated, because it would be the coldest tank in this this room. I'm in the basement, that's why it kind of gets colder down here. This one's kind of hazy. This one is housing my Blue Galaxy Guppy fry. A lot of these guys are about 1 month old to a couple days old. It looks like I've got some detritus detritus worms in here. Cause I do feed them a lot, and a lot of food does kind of get piled up. And I do have a few shrimp in here. I probably need to add more shrimp just to help with the cleanup in there. Lots of snails too. Lots of snails eating things. And you can see all the snails at the surface there. If you can zoom in, maybe. Look at all that. I'm okay with snails. I'm okay with duckweed. I actually have, I'm going to talk about duckweed in a few minutes here. This one here is my Blue Galaxy Guppies. Yeah, this is the strain I've had for the longest time. I struggled a bit. And then I kind of dialed them back. And now we're kind of trying to bring them back again. So right now it's mostly females I have. It's the males that I have issues with their longevity. And what I'm trying to do is get the most robust females, the strongest looking one, then pump out the babies that come from them. And definitely quite a few have come out, even waiting to be fished out of here. I'm really in no hurry to get them out of here because these guppies are not very predatory on their babies. They're very nonchalant about it, very lazy about trying to go after their fish. So again, not too concerned about them. But some guppies that do kind of go after their fish, after their babies, are these. These are red blonde guppies. Mostly females in here. I want to have a pretty good female to male ratio, meaning more females versus males. I have more floating decoration plants in here for some of the younger fry to hide in. They come out perfectly blonde, with no hint of red. And a good 5 to 10 will hide up there in the plants, but it's a massacre at the beginning though, because you'll see them being born and they're trying to make it to the top, and some of these other guppies will just slurp them up. But you know, honestly, I've got like 5, 6 in here. It's all right because over here we've got the grow out tank for the blonde guppies, the red blonde guppies. So you notice how a lot of them are showing up, well, literally blonde. So they don't really start getting their reds until they start maturing a little bit. The males start to see the reds start faster in their tails. The females kind of stay blonde longer. So as you can see in here, they're mostly blonde with just red tails, but the males are almost fully red. One other thing I got going on in here, I am working on really expanding the colony of blue dream shrimp. Are they really blue dream shrimp now? Because they got a little hint of Bloody Mary, but guess what? Blue dream shrimp and Bloody Mary do come from the same line, so eventually you can probably get blue dream, the true blue dream shrimp. But some of my blue dreams are darker than what, say, a normal blue dream would look like, right? So maybe that's a plus, maybe that's a minus, I don't know. Over here, we've got the grow out for my female blue galaxy guppies and my female red blonde guppies. I don't have enough tank space yet to have a grow out for both the female and male of the different species, but theory being that I can identify which one is red blonde, I can identify which one's blue galaxy based off of their body. The blondes are the red blondes and the grays are the blue galaxies. Now what I gotta make sure I'm doing in this tank is any secretive males that might pop up. Now this is kind of the catch, right now this was a catch-all before I made that into a blue galaxy grow out. This is kind of the catch-all. It's kind of gambling a little bit when you say, hey, I'll pull the males when I can, but I don't really see any that have matured yet. Now there's one right there. That guy there is probably going to be a male. Well, has this been in focus at all? Don't know. Lastly, these are the male juveniles, the male youth of the guppy, of the red blonde guppies and the blue galaxy guppies. We can see that the red blondes are starting to pick up more red, starting to move across their bodies here more, starting to develop gonopodiums. And notice the red blonde guppies seem a little bit bigger, and honestly they're a little bit stronger than the blue galaxy guppies. Now the kind of blue galaxy guppy I'm trying to breed out is very similar to the body style that these reds are, and I want a thicker body to be able to hold their tails. I think what happens with my blue galaxies is that their tails are getting super big, but then their bodies are having a hard time carrying them. But it can be improved, I think. So this brings me to the duckweed situation. So if we look in here, I've got about what, 25-30% of the tank with duckweed. Earlier today that tank was probably 60% to 70% covered, and I pulled it, right? And the method I'm using these days is a method I learned online using a comb. So of course I'm ready for this, and I don't know I've did my comb. So here's the comb. Never mind. So fine tooth comb. I literally just got this from Walmart, and instead of trying to use a net or trying to use whatever, just take this comb, push to the end, and it'll pull it up, right? Works better with larger amounts of duckweed, but with the amounts that I'm pulling, works out pretty well. And then over here, I kind of keep it in this. Right, so I'm pulling duckweed out of here. Great. What do we do with it? Well, sometimes I throw it outside, just add it to the lawn, or the wildlife outside might want to eat it. But I thought, what happens if I should look up to see if people refeed duckweed back to their tanks, because there are some fish that will eat duckweed straight up. If I let these guys go, these what are these guys called? The Hawaiian Ryeras platies. If I just let them just do their thing in here, not feed them for a week or two, I'm pretty sure they would eat this duckweed. There's something about duckweed in the raw form, the fish don't necessarily want it or want to eat it. But when I dehydrate it, first time I tried using the microwave, that was weird. I saw people do it that way. The other way is just literally just let it dry out, because I'm in the basement. The relative humidity down here is 36%. And I found leaving them in a small container like this, right? Shaking it around a little bit, letting that air go around, squeeze some of that water out early on. In a day or two, it's pretty much turned into flake form. And so then I refeed them back. And what I found is some fish take to it really well, and some fish are telling me, you know what, just give me real food. But some fish that do take to it really well, and this will be an example. We're gonna feed these fish a little bit of the dried stuff I've had over the last few days. So we're sitting some crumbles in there. You should see some fall. And you should see my Hawaiian Virus putties actually not just eating it and spitting it out, but actually generally eating it. The pieces that you'll see spit out are probably the more raw duckweed, but squeeze out the water, dry it out, and these fish will take it. Some Hawaiian Virus platies will take it. My older guppies, they're not liking it so much. But even when it falls to the bottom, then it's taken up by the snails. Then it's taken up by the what we call them, shrimp. So it does get consumed by something in this tank. Luckily enough, a lot of it will be consumed by these platies. If I can grab another pinch. Since I've found these platies really enjoy this, I've actually gone through my last group of this quite a bit. So let's crumble this up. Let's take a look. If we can zoom in or focus. I believe I'm focusing on the plant behind. But they definitely are eating that dried up duckweed. Now, to talk about how the guppies aren't taking in that duckweed, but these guys in this tank for some reason are. I fed a lot of them so far today, and so there's not much left to put in here, but I'm not too worried about putting my last bit in here. So I just put in some of that more dried duckweed. You should see the pieces of it fall, and you should see some fish actually chasing after it pretty good and eating it up. Notice their bellies are pretty big. Well, that's because they've been eating on this stuff the whole time. I don't know. That's about how things are going. This is more kind of a documentary for myself to look back at and see how things have gone and how things went. So definitely gonna look into recycling my duckweed back into the tanks as a snack or food for my fish. Obviously in this tank it's like, well, we liked it, but you gave us so much of it, our bellies are so full, we're just spitting it right out. So and maybe it's a female versus male thing. Maybe the females like to take it more than the males do. Males want more of the protein. I don't know. But the males don't necessarily enjoy it as much as the females do here. But also it could just be that I do feed my baby guppies not grounded up, but like powdered spirulina powder. And they'll just go crazy off it. In fact, after this video, I'm gonna feed all my baby fish a bunch of spirulina. So that's it. That's the update. The current project is working on duckweed and somehow recycling it and getting it back into the fish. The waste they produce, the duckweed takes it up, and then I export it out of the tanks. They produce more waste. The duckweed takes it up. I export it out of the tanks. But now, we can turn it back into something that the fish can actually take back in, and then start the process all over again. And maybe in time they actually become more better rounded fish, the better diet. In fact, these females are looking awesome, in my opinion. And I think it's a duckling. Haha. Or it could just be amazing setup.